So we just picked up a new Jeep and I don't have factory aux switches in it. So we have a fix for that. We picked up the Voswitch switch panel system for our Jeep Wrangler so we can hook up our lights and accessories. This one didn't come with the factory aux buttons like our last Jeep had. So we're gonna try this out. We've tried S-Pod, Rough Country, factory aux switches, but we've never tried this system. All right, before we head out in the garage, I did want to show you what's inside the box first. We'll start with, you obviously get the sticker. You're gonna get your zip ties. You're gonna get the button covers so you can label your buttons. All right, so you get the little storage pouch that goes on the opposite side of the buttons. If you don't have Rubicon where your switches would be, they provide that. You're gonna obviously get the buttons for the interior. That's what they look like. This is gonna be the power box that goes in the engine bay. You're gonna get your power wires, the wires that run into the interior to connect to the buttons. When you take the top off, you're gonna get each individual button here. This is where you run the power wires, and then you'll ground off either to somewhere under the engine bay, or you can use probably this spot. We'll figure this out when we start installing it to ground up here. Okay guys, let's head out into the garage and get this installed. All right, so first thing first, they want you to remove this bolt right here, at least for my button setup, because I know some of them you mount the actual switch panel over above the battery, but for this one, we mount it over here. You need to remove this bolt, and then they provide an extra one, but I went out of my way and bought a couple stainless ones, just in case these didn't work out. And I bought washers, because I'm gonna use these as ground, so I just wanted a good ground contact. If you guys are interested, this was the size M6 by 1 by 25. If you guys wanna do that yourself too. So let's start here, let's get this removed and get this part mounted up. All right, so we're gonna get our 2 bolts bolted back down. Take your battery cable and the wire that runs to the interior. Make sure you wrap it underneath the box. Took my long ground wire, I cut it down. I'm gonna ground it to this bolt right here. That way I don't have wires just all over the place. So I cut the end off. I have a new end and shrink wrap for that. So let's get it put on right here. We're gonna get the battery lead put on the battery. I'm gonna use this bolt right here, and then we'll get it zip tied nicely up top. So we need to take this little black circle out right there. You can pull that out, and then we gotta drill a hole in it so we can run the interior wire in there. All right, you're gonna have to get in some weird position to wiggle this thing out, but it comes out. So when you take that cover off, you get a big gaping hole that leads on to the interior. So we do want to just put a hole back in this and then just cover that hole back up. All right, so we used a 1/2-inch drill bit to drill at the center of that. That way it fits right through there. After the install, you'll probably want to close this hole up so you don't get wind noise or anything coming through that hole. All right, so we're running the wire through the hole now, and let's show you what it looks like through the interior. So if you look up, that's the wire coming through the firewall. We're gonna pull that through, and then we're gonna run it to the dash. All right, so we need to remove this panel right here. All right, so we made it into the interior. We removed that panel down there. Now we need to remove this section. If you've never removed this on your Jeep before, it may be a pain in the butt. For some reason, this one's really tight. If you've removed it before, it should be pretty easy. Gonna unplug this button right here, push that little pin on top, and then same with this start button, unplug it right there. All right, so we need to get this bolt out and pull this panel straight back, and then we got to get this little storage pouch out. It's 4 bolts behind it. All right, so this bolt here we got to take out. It's a 7mm. Put that in your cup holder, and then we're gonna pop this panel out. Alright guys, so now we got the panel off. We need to take that little storage bucket out. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4 little 5.5 millimeter sockets. All right, so we ran that wire from the engine bay inside. Now we're gonna take that wire, we're gonna run it under the dash and up through where your push start button hole is. We're gonna run it out that. All right, so that's your push button start hole right there. We ran the cable down, and then if you can see right here, there's a little tiny hole that you can pass through right to where you need to be. There is a right way to do this. If you see, there's a little notch at the top right there. And then there's a little cutout on this side. So we match them up, that way it doesn't get messed up. All right, now that we got the wires connected, we just need to put this panel back on. Remember to have this out of the way and up. That's for your air conditioning. So just kind of push this back on. There we go. Let's get this center section put back together. Put the switches back in. Push that back in. The buttons are installed, and what I meant earlier when I said that if you run the red wire, you can only use the buttons when the vehicle started, but we didn't run that, so we can use the buttons whenever we want. That's what it looks like with the power on to the buttons. That's when you're using the buttons. Buttons off, power off to all the buttons. All right, so now we gotta clean up the mess. There's like a lot of wire left over. We're gonna bundle that all together and probably just zip tie it up here, get it out of the way, and then get under the hood and then zip tie that battery cable up. So we zip tied the extra wire under the dash right there and did one right here, here. So it should all stay in place. All right, got the panel back on. Switches in. Now we just gotta get under the hood and zip tie that battery lead. All right, just quick overview what we did. We installed the Voswitch here. I ran my ground, I cut it down to size and grounded it right here. Ran the battery cable all the way over there. I zip tied on top of this here, just to give it a nice clean install. We ran the wire down through there. I kind of sealed it up with 3M tape we have. And then inside we have our switches that work now. So in the next video, we'll go over how to install lights to the switch system. So stay tuned for that. If you guys want this for your Jeep, I'll leave it down in the description below. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you in the next one.